this lecture we will start with discussion on solidification of alloys. So far whatever we have discussed has been about pure materials, pure metals if you will. So the topic is solidification of alloys from the point of view of heat flow. So the overall topic is still heat flow, but we are now talking about so the first question comes to mind is, how is the solidification of alloys different from what we have been discussing so far, which is pure material. So for that what you need to realize is that whenever we are talking about alloys, it has not one melting point, not a unique melting point. It always has a range of melting point. Range, and what do I mean by range of melting point? Remember, it has a liquidus, it has a solidus, and in between these two temperatures the material remains or coexists as liquid and as solid, and therefore we can say that all the temperature range between the liquidus and solidus is the range of melting point. So how will that make a difference? So again, first start with how the temperature profile would look like. Now here there will be a difference. So far we were talking only about mold, solid, and then used to come liquid, but here we will have another phase where we have both solid and liquid, and then comes the liquid. So the temperature change, even if you are taking about these 4 layers, the temperature profile would look like. So there will be, we are assuming again the most general case, so there will be probably a temperature heat resistance, interface resistance over here, and then from here and so on. So what do you see? That the temperature in the most general case, there will be temperature drop in mold, there will be temperature drop at the solid and mold interface, there will be temperature drop in the solid plus liquid, and even here if we assume liquid at Tm, that is without superheat, that is not going to be a problem, or that will not take away any kind of information away from us, but still it looks like a very difficult problem to track. So again we will not look at what or how to derive, or in fact there is I am not aware of any analytical solution for a case like this, but what we will look at is what the solidification rate people have observed experimentally, and we can, if we can relate it with what we already know. Now if we are drawing this, then also let me draw what exactly these look like. This is your mold, now this is your solid, this is your liquid, and in between solid plus liquid what do we have? Here you have some growing solids which exists along with the liquid. So here this is your solid part, and let us say, let me use a different color, so this is liquid. And this is the solid part. So if we have so here is the mold, here is the region where there is only solid, and here is the region where you have both solid and liquid, and here is a region where you have liquid. So now you can clearly see that there is a interface where up to which only solid exists. So that is your solidus line and we can call it XS. This is a line beyond which you have only liquid. So this will become your liquidus line and let's call it XL. So now when we are looking at solidification rate or basically S versus T plot, we will not be looking at only one line. Remember earlier we had only solid liquid interface, so we used to draw only one plot, but now we have two things to look at, XS and XL, the solidus line and the liquidus line. So let's draw how this will look like. So S is the length which has crossed or which has solidified in the terms of liquidus or solidus, and now this is, let's say, the top of the mold. So now for the solid, the first interface to reach the top of the interface, top of the mold would be liquidus. As you can see, it is ahead of the solidus. So in terms of time, it will be below or it will reach this point earlier to solidus, and it comes out something like this. And for the solidus, you get plot. So this is how this plot looks like, and there is just one modification. This has to be root T because we are assuming a insulating mold kind of condition. Whenever we have a sand mold like this, then the condition is like that of insulating mold, and insulating mold, you remember, S is proportional to root T. So remember that I had earlier mistakenly wrote it at T. It is not T, it should be root T. So S will be S and root T, you see a straight line. Now there are a few things that you can look at this plot and understand. One is that the liquidus, so now this is your XS line and this is your X, this is your XL. It has reached the liquidus, reached the top of the mold earlier, and this is your solidus line. So as you can see, liquidus has reached the top of the mold, or it has reached the end earlier. Solidus has reached after that. We already know from this from here. This will reach earlier, this will reach later on. Another thing is that XL follows a straight line between S and root T. So it very nicely follows the S versus root T plot. Therefore it is very much, you can say, agrees to the insulating mold condition. On the other hand, XS, which is the solidus curve, it shows some variations. Although it is a straight line to most of the extent, towards the end it becomes, or it rises very sharply. So there is some changes occur towards the end, and you can understand that once the liquidus has solidified, then suddenly the concentration, and we will see that more when we talk about composition, that towards the end the composition rises abruptly, and that may be what is leading to this change in the plot over here. Now another thing is that when we are doing this, we are assuming that H is equal to infinity. What does H equal to infinity mean? That this is 0, there is no gap over here, or there is no interface resistance. If on the other hand we take H as some small quantity, it means that there is some amount of interface resistance, and that will lead to some change. What changes we will see? So the first change is, in terms of liquidus, you don't see much change. The liquidus remains as it is. So this is S, this is root T. But when it comes to solidus, you see a shift over here. Overall plot remains same, but over here, because of the presence of interface resistance. So whenever there is an interface resistance between the solid and the mold, you would see that the xs, which is the solidus plot, gets shifted a little bit in time. It starts a little later. And remember, we talked about it when we said that the S is equal to A root T minus B kind of has the experimental form, that is what people have observed. And that delay, one of the reason was suggested was that that is because of the interface resistance, because in some even in the materials or in the configuration where you are saying that there is no interface resistance, there is still some finite interface resistance, and which is what leads to that minus B term. And this is what is we can see over here. Here we have some finite interface resistance, and this leads to delay in the solidus curve. So these are the two different kind of S versus time plot that you will see for the alloys. Now there are few more things that we should look at. If you look at this gap, what does this gap represent? For any particular time, what it is saying is that your solidus is at this point and the liquidus is at this point. So what it is saying is that, let me erase this part, what it is saying is that in that region both solid and liquid coexist. So let's call it, let's give it some name, and it is called width of Massey zone. It's not the name, it's not a name I am giving it, it's what it is called. It is called width of Massey zone. So this vertical distance, that vertical gap that we get, it represents width of Massey zone. And why is it called, why is it named like this? Because it is in this region both liquid and solid coexist. Okay, so it is, if you look at this particular time, this is where the liquidus is, this is where the solidus is, and therefore it represents, if from your original plot, this was the region where both solid and liquid exist, so it represents the width of that region, and therefore it tells you the width of the Massey zone. Now there are several important points that you must be aware when we are talking about this width of Massey zone. One, it determines what is the macro segregation, it determines the overall macro segregation behavior. And not only macro segregation, since it is influencing macro segregation, it also influences and overall microstructure. It can also influence overall microstructure. Now when the solid part solidifies first, or the liquidus has reached, and then there is some solid and liquid left, then what happens is that the remaining part or the outside region is solid, but in between you have some liquid remaining. Now if that liquid is remaining and once it starts to solidify, it will contract, and because of that it leads to stresses, and it can even lead to hot tear. So this width, it is this width that determines also the hot tear in the alloys. So larger the width, you have larger the chances of hot tear. Smaller is this width, smaller are the chances for this hot tear. Now as you can see, that is one aspect of the plot, which is the width of the Massey zone. Other is this one, you also see a gap over here. What it is representing is that if there is a particular point in your unidirectional solidification of the alloy, then what is the total time that it takes first from the point that the liquidus crosses it to the solidus to cross it. So, it is at this point liquidus crosses it and it is at this time solidus crosses it. So, in these two, as you can see, it is the horizontal axis. So, horizontal axis will represent time. So, it represents the time for the time difference between the liquidus and solidus curve to cross, and therefore, it is termed as local solidification time. So, this region is the local solidification time. So, this represents the local solidification time, as I have mentioned over here, that is the time that at a particular point after the liquidus is crossed, how much time it will take for the solidus to cross. Now, that time is also again of importance when we are talking about alloy solidification. So, let us again put some of these points in perspective. So, this horizontal gap is called, this is the horizontal gap. What does it represent? It represents local solidification time, and like the vertical gap, it also determines some of the characteristics. What are those characteristics? It determines the arm spacing between the dendrites. So, both of these gaps have importance. So, if you can get this plot experimentally, then based on the horizontal gap that you are getting and the vertical gap that you are getting, you can say or understand a lot about the behavior of the material that you will obtain after solidification. Now, that is the solidification in general, solidification of alloy in general. Now, there is one thing in particular that we can still get from this, although we are not looking at the heat flow equations and all those details, but let us say that we were looking at solidification of alloy in a very insulating mold. How will that? So, we are still looking at solidification of alloy, but now we are looking at insulating mold. I should not have erased the part solidification of alloys because it is still there. We are looking at insulating mold condition. Now, remember what was the implication of insulating mold? When we are talking about insulating mold, it means that maximum temperature drop takes place in mold. Right. So, the maximum temperature drop has to take place in mold. So, how will it change? Again, let us start from our temperature profile. This is your temperature, this is your distance, and this is a mold, this is a solid. Now, if the maximum temperature drop, if this is now your Tm, actually we should not call Tm over here, we will have T liquidus and solidus, and since liquidus is higher, this is T liquidus, this is T solidus. So, the region you get below which you will get only solid, you will be calling it solidus. Now, over here we will have maximum temperature drop taking place in the in the mold, and then we have the solid over here. Now, this this represents our solidus, this represents our liquidus, because in this region you have, below this you have only solid, above this you have only liquid, and in over here you have solid plus liquid. So now this is one plot. Actually what I wanted to draw was a little bit different. I should have, since we have insulating mold, our temperature drop should be even larger in the mold part. So let's bring it over here, and therefore now what is happening here, you see, this becomes your solid part, this becomes your solid plus liquid part. So let me clean it a little bit so that you can clearly see. No. So what is the difference that we have now compared to what we had earlier? The difference is that because the maximum temperature drop is taking place in the mold, there is a very small range of temperature change to take place in the solid and the solid plus liquid part, which means the width of this zone, which is more important than any other width, this width becomes smaller. So when we are talking about insulating mold condition for solidification of alloys, the solid plus liquid region or the width of Massey zone becomes smaller. So now we have a smaller width of Massey zone, which means that as soon as the liquidus reaches the end, the solidus will also reach the end. Or in terms of this plot, if we look at it, so you see the total time that we have over here, the difference between the time becomes very small. As soon as the liquidus reaches the top, solidus also reaches the top, and therefore it starts to behave like a pure metal, and therefore what we will have is that the total overall equations that we derived for pure metal can also now be applied for something like this. So when you have a very insulating mold where maximum temperature drop is taking place in the inside the mold and not inside the solid and solid plus liquid part, it means the material will behave very much similar to what we have discussed for pure metals. The only difference would be that this temperature that we have at the mold solid interface, it will keep changing, although in a very small narrow temperature range, which will be only this much, but it will change with time, which we did not have when we were talking about pure metals. But otherwise all the equations that we derived for pure metals, you can apply it for solidification of alloys when you are using a insulating mold. So with that we will come to end for the solidification of alloys, and it is at this time good it will be a good idea to let's review what we have done for the heat flow component. So let's summarize what we know. So we talked about the solidification of casting and ingots and said that the overall equation are always very complicated, but we need some simplifications, and therefore we for that first we need is a heat flow equation, and we saw that the heat flow equation comes from the conservation of energy, the which gives us the Fourier law, and from there we get that heat equation. Actually you can go to some of these Wikipedia type of websites and get some more detailed information about the heat equation. And in this particular course we solved 1D solution for some two very simple conditions for two very simple cases. One was the insulating mold the other was the interface resistance. And then we also showed you the solution for two difficult cases, although we did not go through the mathematics of it. We showed you that there is a relation between thermal diffusivity and thermal conductivity, and various solutions were discussed. And at this point, I would again like to emphasize, we discussed two different important conditions or two different temperature profile that we have discussed. One was the semi-infinite insulating mold condition. Over there you remember we said that outside temperature remains constant, but not because we are fixing it or not because we are enforcing it. It is because the mold size is assumed to be so large that the temperature rise will take place after such a long time that before that solidification would have taken place. The other extreme case that we were talking about, where you will see that you can impose, or where you have imposed a external temperature, is this one. See, this is the kind of solution that you will obtain, and this is also a standard set of solution when you impose temperature from the outside. So you can assume that this is the mold and this is the TM temperature in some units, and this is the room temperature. So here you have fixed the room temperature over here, and to begin with, the temperature profile looks like this. It goes with increasing time, it is looking like this, but in here the outside temperature will never increase beyond the ambient temperature that has been fixed, and the steady state will be this dotted red line. At this steady state, whatever amount of heat is coming in is the amount of heat going out, and no amount of heat is being absorbed. And this looks like, this is how that plot will look like on the right that he has shown with increasing time. So this is starting time, and then when you keep going, at some point it will become steady state. So this is the steady state, but this is not the insulating mold condition. I have shown it so that you can appreciate the difference between insulating mold condition, where we have invoked semi-infinite mold, and the condition where you have enforced temperature, some temperature which is ambient temperature. So we talked about what does semi-infinite mean, and if you are interested in some kind of computation for this, there is a very simple MATLAB code that you can use to plot, and we will show the plots that you have. This is a very simple plot for the semi-infinite mold, and here is the equation that is that we have for the semi-infinite mold condition, and this is what is given over here. You can, in case you do not have a MATLAB, you may even try this website, which is the parent company of MATLAB, and over here you can simulate some of these simple programs. And this is the plot I have shown over here for different times. So see, over here time is equal to 1, 10, 100, 1000, 1000, and I have kept the total distance constant, and this in some unit this is the temperature. So what you see as the time increases, this is how the temperature plot looks like. So this, you can assume this is Tm, this is T naught. So this temperature profile of the mold is increasing at increasing distance, and this is how it looks like after some time. This is at some point at this like this, and after some time you start to see an increase in the overall temperature. You see now, if you keep giving it the temperature, or if the temperature at the inside remains constant at Tm, the outside temperature may even rise and get to a value very close to the Tm temperature. So we will leave it at this, and we will come back and summarize some more of this, and solve some problem related to this, and then we move on to what is the next part of the course, which is compositional variations when you do solidification. So we will meet in next lecture. Thanks.